Are you conflicted over conflict? How many of you love conflict in ministry or anywhere? Raise your hand. Nope, I don't either. But there are times when the leader must step in and deal with conflict and confrontation. Fred Smith says, the Christian community has done a very poor job with confrontation. I'm convinced, he says, that the level of individual accomplishment in Christian organizations is notoriously lower as a whole than it should be because, unlike business, the leaders confuse the presence of love with the absence of confrontation. Interesting. Our ministries are important. The leadership we give needs to reflect that understanding. It means that the team and the mission are more important than any one individual. And if conflict arises, it needs to be dealt with for the good of the ministry and its mission. That is the role of a leader. John Maxwell feels most people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. Leaders need to call their team to the highest level of that expectation. Maxwell says, most team members want to succeed at what they do. That means, he says, that if correction is handled with care, most people will be fairly open to change and improvement. Maxwell even has a 10 commandments of confrontation. They start with confronting in private and doing it as soon as possible. He also reminds leaders to stick to the main point and remember to highlight the person's positive contributions. But proper confrontation is critical if the ministry or the organization is going to accomplish its mission. Well, some may say, well, I don't want to ruin a friendship in the process of confronting a team member. Fred Smith says that is wrong thinking. He says your friendship should be the basis for the appropriate confrontation. And he goes on to say, until I am willing to risk a relationship with a truthful confrontation, that relationship really isn't worthwhile. I know it isn't pleasant to think about confrontation as part of your leadership role, but it is both critical and necessary. Think of Jesus' leadership. Did he confront those around him? Absolutely. In Matthew 16, we see an amazing encounter between Jesus and his disciples, especially Simon Peter. Jesus asked who people say that he is. And Peter was the one who declared, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus went out of his way to commend Peter, calling him blessed and declaring him a rock. But just moments later, as Jesus was beginning to explain what would happen in the coming days, predicting his arrest, death, and resurrection, Peter pipes up and says, not on my watch, Jesus. Immediately, Jesus confronts Peter in pretty harsh terms. Remember? Jesus turned to Peter and said, get away from me, Satan. You are dangerous. You're a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not God's. You can read that in Matthew 16. Jesus didn't confront Peter's wrong thinking because he didn't like Peter. He did so out of love and because the cause of Christ, his mission, was so very critical. God has placed you in a leadership role. Your greatest job is not to be friends with everyone on your team. And by the way, the same is true for parents and their children. Your greatest role is to keep the team pointed toward the God-given goal and the ministry's mission, even if it means occasional confrontation. I'd love for you to learn the latest about Media Alliance International, and the best way is to visit our website, MEDIALLIANCE.cc. And you can help us spread this kind of encouragement by liking, subscribing, and sharing these videos. Thanks, and God's best.